Hi everyone, Helene here, your detox coach. It's lovely to be back with all of you, and I'm sharing another video on the collective issues of one of the detox groups that are just finishing up with me. So like always, they've registered and they've given me their personal information and their health history and their current challenges, and as a collective I've summarized this, and the real purpose of these videos are to prove to you how every and all conditions are settled in the fact that our lymph fluid is compromised. Our body is not eliminating the wastes that it should be eliminating well. And this is why we're sitting with a compromised lymphatic fluid, which makes up 80% of the fluid in our body, which is the river in between our cells. To have healthy and strong and robust regenerated cells, you need to be able to clean them and feed them. So there can't be any blockages, otherwise the food doesn't reach it. And you need to be able to receive the metabolic waste of these cells and successfully eliminate it from your body. So what has happened is, because we are either born with a compromised lymphatic system, or we are born with eliminative organs that are not releasing the wastes as it should. So these allow for the lymphatic fluid to become congested and being accumulated, and it keeps on collecting all these wastes, this very acidic metabolic waste coming from our cells, the acid ash we leave after our meals, the toxins that comes in through our skins, through the food we choose, through the medication we use. Whatever comes into the body, the sewage system of the body is this lymphatic fluid that needs to collect all these wastes, take it to the eliminative organs, our skin, our bowel, and our kidneys, and these eliminative organs are supposed to receive it and transport it successfully to the outside world. This doesn't happen anymore. This is why the world of diseases even exists. It's the fact that there's symptomology that shows that there's something in your body that is breaking down. Why is it breaking down, guys? It's breaking down because we have a compromised lymphatic fluid, and we are building and accumulating wastes and acids that should not be there. This creates blockages. This gets the body to start producing more defense mechanisms like more mucus, more cholesterol, leaching calcium from the matrix. Using water retention, you'll see swelling because it's using the water to buffer the acids in the body. It creates more inflammation. We call it inflammation, which is the response to acidosis. And this very response, this protective measures the cholesterol and becomes the problem later on because there's too much. It's blocking energy, it's blocking flow, nutrients are not reaching the places, tumors are growing, all these things start happening as we go down this road. So let's dive right into it. Again, I've divided it into firstly lymphatic conditions, and then there's the secondary action that happen when, for instance, the adrenal glands become so lymphatically congested that the cells cannot perform as it should. Now there's another cascading effect of consequences that happens in your body, of a breakdown that happens in your body because the adrenals are not functioning as it should. So we're going to look at lymphatic issues, which is directly related to lymphatic issues. Then we're also going to look at two other places, the adrenals and the thyroid, parathyroid. What happens if these guys go down and they can't do what they need to do anymore? Okay, let's start with osteoporosis, rheumatoid arthritis, joint pain, swollen ankles and hands, shoulder and leg pains. So these are all based on the fact that firstly you are losing calcium from your matrix. Why are you losing calcium? Calcium is a base mineral, an alkaline mineral. So when your body starts suffering of acidosis, one of the defense mechanisms the body would devise is to actually borrow calcium from your connective tissue, from your bone matrix, from your tissues, from your cell membranes. It leaches calcium and buffer the body against these acids. If you are sitting with a compromised parathyroid gland, you now don't have enough parathyroid hormone that your body needs for the cells to utilize calcium. So at the one end, your body is now borrowing calcium from the matrix with ideally the idea to put it back, right? But if your parathyroid is compromised, this means your cells and your body actually can't utilize the calcium coming in from your chosen diet, and thus cannot restore this bone matrix or the connective tissue that it leached from. You're going to sit in a situation where you have osteoporosis, rheumatoid arthritis, joint pain. You're going to have varicose veins, spider veins. You're going to have aneurysms. Depression is a direct thing. Let's get into that a little bit more when we get to the thyroid and parathyroid. Swollen ankle and hands is literally now another defense mechanism, is using water, H2O, water. So it's retaining water to buffer the acidity as well, and this creates the swelling that we see again. Also, when your kidneys are compromised, because it's congested with lymph in between the cells, it cannot balance out the water in your body, which also relates then to water retention. Any kind of burning or pain we have usually is acids that is congested at the spot, the inflammation in that spot that allows us to feel it like pain. Brain tumor, detached retina, eyesight and brain fog, dry eyes. This is all things that happens in the head because the lymphatic fluid in this head space is compromised. You know, I always say it's an intelligent body that creates tumors because at least it contains the acids in a bag for you. Yes, if this tumor is in a bad space, like in the brain, or blocking flow, or blocking kind of, you know, neurological flow or blood flow, then it becomes a real problem. But people can actually grow huge tumors without dying if it's not compromising their flow. And the moment there's a tumor, you must realize there's a lymph node. There's always a lymph node right before or after the tumor. And this is usually because this lymph node is compromised. It cannot actually deal with the lymph that it's receiving. And that's when you're going to start seeing the tumor build up in front of it or sometimes after it. Your appendix has an effect on your irritable bowel syndrome, your umbilical hernia or hiatus, diverticulitis. You know, anything that has to do with your bowel being in a diseased space very much translate to unhealthy appendix. And the reason your appendix is unhealthy is it shows how your body is dealing with all this foreign chemistry that's coming in and being captured by the appendix, trying to deal with it. Many people have their appendix removed because the appendix itself becomes so congested with this overload of toxins and that it actually cannot function anymore. And then the next step would be for the doctor to remove it. The last thing you want to do is remove your appendix. The appendix actually contains so many microbacterium that your body really needs to cope with life. The moment you remove it, you remove that wealth of bacterium that now is not available to your body anymore. So the idea would be to rather focus on healing the lymphatic fluid that's causing the congestion in the appendix. When this lymphatic fluid is healed and is successfully eliminated by the body, the appendix heals, and now you have this rich source of bacterium again that's available to you to deal with life. This will just deliver a much healthier bowel in general. So irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's disease, the diverticulitis, this is all basically the wall of your bowel being congested and surrounded by its own waste and acids, and it's being burned, and it's damaging, it's deteriorating. And the moment if you want to heal that, you need to heal the lymphatic fluid so that energy can reach these cells, so that the cells can rebuild themselves and the wastes are successfully removed away from the cells. The acids are moved away from the cells, so the cells are not burned and being corroded anymore. Breast lump or cancer, same thing, you know, it is a bag of lymphatic fluid that is carrying acidic wastes of your body, the metabolic waste of your cells, the acid ash left after digestion, the toxins that enters your system through either eating, drinking, or putting it on your skin, breathing it in. You know, these are all things that the body now puts into a lump, into a sewage bag, because the lymphatic system can't deal with the lymphatic fluid. So now the lymphatic fluid is starting all kind of tricks to support you to survive. The same with cysts and fibroids, you know, ovarian cysts. People have their ovaries removed, they have hysterectomies because there's endometriosis, there's growths on the womb. You know, these are all really painful stuff, and it's all based in a compromised lymphatic fluid. If I've had clients now recently that had lumps reduced with 2 centimeters within a couple of months of being on the fruit detox. And this is simply because they now are healing the lymphatic fluid. The acids are starting to leave the body successfully. We're hydrating the lymphatic fluid. We're using the astringency factors of fruits to pull on our system, to pull these wastes away from the cells and deliver it to the eliminative organs. Our eliminative organs might not even be operating fully yet, but at least the lymphatic fluid is being hydrated and alkalized and become flowy again. And as the lymphatic fluid that surrounds the cells of the eliminative organs, like the kidneys for instance, starts alkalizing and flowing again, nutrients reach the kidney cells rebuild themselves, and the kidneys start filtering again. This is big. It's very big when a human comes to the place where they know their kidneys are filtering successfully again. I've only met 5 humans whose kidneys was filtering when I met them. Some takes weeks to get it to filter, some takes months. I've even had some taken up to a year just to get their kidneys to filter. And this is when you restore a process in the human body. You're not doing something to the body that's out of the ordinary. You're simply restoring the natural function of the human body by opening up the eliminative organs again, allowing the eliminative organs to receive the sewage system, which is the lymphatic fluid carrying all the wastes of your body, and then leaving the body successfully. Endometriosis is when it becomes so acidic inside the body that the womb is literally welded to the bowel. You know, it's merging like this, because one of the characteristics of acids is to make things conglomerate, stick together, you know. So now you can imagine if the uterus are moving and how it's tearing from the bowel. It's extreme pain, you know, and it can be literally fixed within a couple of months of being on the fruit protocol. The same with fibromyalgia. Fibromyalgia is the same as endometriosis, it's just in a different part of the body. So a different part of the body, the cells are welded, are sticking together to such a degree that when movement happens, there's tearing that happens, there's internal bleeding that happens. It really hurts a lot, and it can be changed the moment you let go of acid ash forming food and you focus on live foods, raw foods, especially your fruits to start with. Okay, Lyme and lupus, fibromyalgia, same thing. The parasitic involvement, the viral involvement is simply a secondary condition of this very acidic state that happens, that leaves a lot of cells that is compromised, and this is where the viral load and bacterium sometimes sets in, and even the parasites, you know. So many people think Lyme's is coming from being bitten by a parasite, etc., etc. It's not. It's interstitial acidosis that has the secondary complications that takes place. We're looking at any parasite involvement like malaria, bilharzia. You know, it won't take hold in your body if you didn't have a compromised lymphatic fluid. If your lymphatic fluid was flowy and was healthy, and your elimination organs was filtering successfully, then whatever enters your body, whatever kind of parasitic load, anything that enters your body will simply leave the body. There's no reason why it should get stuck. There's no food for it to get stuck. So this is also how we get rid of heavy metals and parasites. We get that lymphatic river to flow and to actually leave the body successfully. Cholesterol is another way one of the body's defense mechanisms. So especially when the adrenals are low and when there's high levels of interstitial acidosis. Now the adrenals are not producing enough of the steroids that the body would usually use to combat this high level of acidosis. And now there's not enough of those steroids. So one of the things that the body would do would be for the liver to produce more cholesterol. Yes, it's a protection mechanism. It's a good thing. But the good thing, the protecting mechanism, becomes a blockage later on as it becomes too much for the body to deal with. And then there's simply no space for movement. The nutrients again can't reach the cells. Now diabetes too happen because the sugar simply cannot reach the cell. There's too much cholesterol and mucus surrounding the cells for nutrients to reach it. And now the sugar stays in the blood, and now there is blood sugar problems. Bladder infection, UTIs, weak bladder incontinence, this is all to do with the tissue that is so acidic and has become so weak. The calcium has been leached from it. So there's prolapsing that's happening. There's weakness of connective tissue. There's weakness of the valves. It's very acidic. It's the receiving the acids of the body, that your urinary system is receiving all the acids of the body, you know. So if your lymph system is not in a working condition, the pH of the wastes that reach the kidneys can be very low. It can be as low as 3, and this has extreme pain as a result. I mean, this pH of 3 wastes reach your bladder. I mean, it burns. It burns your bladder. It breaks your bladder. It weakens your bladder. You know, the fact that you've got incontinence means it's a weakness. The tissue is a weakness. So how do you heal this? You hydrate the lymphatic fluid so that lymphatic fluid can successfully start leaving the body, nutrients can reach the cells, and the rebuilding can start happening. Removal of gallbladder, like anything in the body, is only removed if it becomes congested, if the lymphatic fluid in between the cells is so congested that the organ itself has become a diseased organ. And the only thing mainstream medicine knows how to cut or how to throw pharmaceuticals at you. So that's usually when they start removing things. Removing the gallbladder is probably not the worst thing that can happen, since the gallbladder really is a holding bag for substances produced by the liver. This relieves a lot of stress from the liver. You know, if the liver doesn't have to produce on the spot all the chemistry that's necessary to deal with whatever chemistry is entering the body, it can actually fall back on the gallbladder that has these stored chemistry and can actually utilize it. So without the gallbladder, there's more stress put on the liver. So you're just going to have to give the liver more love and more healing. Recovery time of injuries, that has a direct relation to the lymphatic fluid, how quickly the body can respond. Remember, the lymphatic fluid is a protector for your cells. It is a sewage system for your cells, and it also is a transport system for the chemistry in your body. So it's part of the immune response. It's part of transporting enzymes and hormones, neurotransmitters coming from your endocrine glands. So your recovery time in general will be much faster in an alkaline body that is not dealing with interstitial acidosis. Muscle gain very much depends on if the nutrients you eat are healthy and harmonious to the body, and if these nutrients can reach the body successfully. So there's 3 processes that food needs to go through before sustenance reach your cells: digestion, absorption, and utilization. All 3 of these needs to work successfully for you to build your body, to build your muscle. There's some other organs that plays directly into this: the pituitary gland, the thyroid gland. All of these also plays a role in rebuilding the body. Okay. There's a condition called hidradenitis suppurativa, HS they call it. It's not a very nice situation to deal with, and it's a classic lymphatic condition. So this is when there's a clump of abscesses that starts forming on the body. Sometimes they even do tunneling inside in the tissue of the body as they are connected together, and this is basically congested lymphatic fluid and a very strong skin that was able to actually start filtering out this lymphatic fluid. Even when these cysts and abscesses are broken and burst, it is a very foul smell that shows you this is the wastes of your body that has found a different exit, because clearly your kidneys is not giving them the exits it needs. So again, this is a condition that will clear up as soon as you get your kidneys to filter. You're hydrating the lymphatic fluid, and it successfully starts draining the waste through the kidneys, and only the gases start leaving through the skin again. The scar tissue would start healing, the tunneling will stop, the abscesses will stop. It's a very debilitating skin condition that some of our detoxes are dealing with, and it's so well worth it to do a deep dive into the world of fruit detoxification so that you can get rid of this thing once and for all. Let's have a look at our adrenals. So now the lymphatic fluid that is surrounding the cells of the adrenals are so compromised that the adrenals itself becomes very weak. The cells of the adrenals becomes very weak, and the adrenals has a huge role to play in the body, probably one of the most important glands in the body. It produces steroids that your body really need to deal with the problem of acidosis. Steroids are also the metabolizing factor for sugars. So when sugars enter the body, to metabolize the sugars, you need steroids produced by the adrenals. Enzymes, the adrenals produce enough enzymes for the utilization of up to 52 minerals. These include like iron, magnesium, manganese, copper, zinc, name it. Your adrenals produce the enzymes that the cell need to be able to make use of that sustenance. Thank you, Eskom. The adrenals also produce neurotransmitters, which is a huge deal. This is the electricity of your neurological system, you know. So if you don't have enough of these neurotransmitters, things like your heartbeat will be affected. Your autonomic nervous systems like your bowel movements, your heartbeat, your breathing. You know, if you have asthma, this is a neurological condition because of lack of neurotransmitters, because of low adrenal function. So this is a big deal as well. It also produces hormones like your progesterone, your estrogen. You know, it plays a huge role in our reproductive cycle and fight or flight, adrenaline, noradrenaline, those kind of things. So if it's in a low functioning state, it just simply do not produce enough of any of these, and it creates this cascading effect. We spoke about what happens if there's not enough steroids to deal with acidosis. The body will use cholesterol plaquing to actually defend the body against the acidosis. It will leach calcium from the matrix. It will use water retention. It will use more antihistamines that's being produced by the cells, you know. So many things happen just because the adrenals are not producing enough steroids. So anxiety, your emotional body, your stress and anxiety, everything is settled in the adrenals. If you start healing the adrenals, you will experience an emotional healing happening. And this is very profound. You know, we've got many different subtle bodies. And the emotional subtle body is definitely connected to the adrenals itself. And it's either, if you're going through emotional turmoil, it will break down the adrenals further, or if you break the adrenals down further, your emotions will be in more turmoil. So it's this feedback loop between the adrenals and your emotional body. Of course, if you have low blood pressure, you will sit with fatigue, and this has to do with the neurotransmitters that's lacking, your dopamines and that you need to be strong and happy. This is why you will experience that fatigue. Things like MS and Parkinson's is directly related to the adrenal function. Many Parkinson cases had bad bowel movements their whole life, which is a sign that the adrenals were low, you know. And that's just a sign. And as this plaquing now has to happen, especially in the headspace with Parkinson's people, you can literally see the thick white plaquing that happens in their headspace, in their iris. Many people actually cut it away, you know, and then later in their life they are diagnosed with Parkinson's. And again, this plaquing can be reversed by hydrating the lymphatic fluid, and the plaquing would actually dissipate and start being removed and leave your body, and you would completely restore. It's very tough for Parkinson's clients though, because they start using dopamine, or they use a pharmaceutical that stimulates the production of more dopamine, which means they stimulate the adrenals further, and anything that's in a stimulated state break down faster. This is why we're sitting in a condition that humanity sits in a low functioning adrenal condition, and the reason is because we're so relying on stimulating foods to feel better, because the moment you stimulate your adrenals, it produces more of the chemistry you want, the dopamine, the neurotransmitters, the adrenaline, and you're more energized and you want that high, right? So you're going to go for your caffeine and your sugars and your starches, your meat, because it's got neurotransmitters in the meat, adrenaline in the meat. And this is the fear of the animal that you're eating.